On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk warranty issues and Savant previews Cync. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 319, 2 Warranties.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Sure. Sound extraordinary.
Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. And this week, I'm pleased to be joined by my good friend, Dennis Holzer. He's the CEO of Powerhouse Alliance. How you doing, Dennis?
I am doing terrific, Matt. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for being here. We were supposed to have our good friend Katie Bennett McGregor on the show. Unfortunately, her husband John had a back issue because he's old. And I really hope he listens to this so he can hear me tell him that he's old. I'm sure he'll be fine. He just, he threw his back out reaching for his knitting needles or something. So our thoughts and prayers go out to John. Hopefully he feels better. And we miss Katie a bunch today. But Dennis is kindly enough said that he is willing to just talk to me. So sorry. I apologize in advance. You're going to get Dennis and Matt ranting, or at least Matt ranting and Dennis telling me to calm down. So with that wonderful introduction, let's kick this off with a story that comes to us from Residential Systems and a good friend of the show, Mr. Henry Clifford. The Tale of Two Warranties, how service after the sale can make all the difference in deciding which businesses to support. Through this story, Henry pulls a wonderful story that is based on, obviously, a true story that he's gone through involving a Stanley FatMax portable charger / air compressor that he bought in the spring of 2020, which subsequently failed. And then he quickly found out it was 2 or so months out of its 1-year warranty, and thus nothing could be done. And if you don't know Henry, he is an annoyingly good runner. And I say that as someone who cannot run and does not like running. He loves doing it and wakes up early to do it. It's very odd. But he bought these features, I said that on purpose, socks at $17 a pair that have a lifetime warranty. He, drew a hole in them, had an issue, and they instantly sent him not only a gift card code, they didn't need him to ship the socks back. They just gave him some replacement socks quickly to solve the problem he had with the first pair. So, Dennis, this is a topic that I'm going to argue does not get addressed enough in our space, is how to properly deal with warranties. And as you can surmise from reading that article, obviously, I don't think Henry fully enjoyed his Stanley Tools warranty experience, but it sounds like he really loved his features socks experience because, again, there was a problem. They sent him a gift card, said, hey, just go get a new pair. You don't need to ship it back. You don't need an RMA. You don't need to go through all that work. Just, we just want to solve the problem. In AV, a lot of times, obviously, there's warranty from service and from physical work that is performed in somebody's home or in their business. And then there's product warranties. And a lot of times they kind of differ. How do integrators go about properly explaining how their warranties work, but also how to structure and deal with warranty issues?
So, Matt, that's a difficult question. It's a difficult answer. The truth of the matter is, let's start. And I do distinguish the AV industry differently than most other industries, and I distinguish that differently is because most manufacturers in the AV business, and I'm talking about more hardware, more audio and video than I am, accessories, they don't want their warranty departments from what they used to be have shrunk to virtually zero. And if a TV goes out, frankly, most people don't want you to repair that TV. and the manufacturers have priced the parts to a point, and I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with them, but they've priced them to the point where in most cases you can't repair a TV. So
I will disagree with that point.
Okay.
I think it's terrible.
What we have done from a Powerhouse standpoint, to be frank with you, is two things. Number one, we sell an extended manufacturer's warranty. We sell that to our dealers if they want it. Now, not like a Best Buy where they punch you over the head until you get out of the register with it. But look, if you want the option, here's the option to do that. The second part of that is the service. And to be very frank, I don't think a lot of our integrators are good at explaining the warranties to, they're going in and they're putting in hypothetically a home theater, and they would have to take the time, and they should take the time. But, and I've said this on this show before, to me, there should be a sheet handed to the consumer at the completion of the job that says, here are the products we installed, here are the warranties, and if you have issues with any of these products, call me. Meaning, there's something in this industry called repeat customer, and if you take care of that customer, but you need to explain to them, there are things that we do as an integrator, and there are things that the factory are required to do as the manufacturer. And all too often, and I understand it, you do some installations and they think everything falls on you as the integrator. And so I just think there's room for everything, but it's simple communication. I think at the bottom line is what needs explained to the customer. And if you want a repeat customer, you take care of that customer the best you can, but at least they have the knowledge up front.
Yeah, and I'm conflicted on this, and partially because we just went through this with a client last fall. We did a whole home of tech and some other stuff went into this house, and within 3 weeks of the Samsung Q TV being installed, it developed a line of pixels that turned red. And obviously it was an issue. We had to deal with it. Not a problem. The clients called us, which was great, opposed to going directly to Samsung. But they expected us to fully just help achieve that system getting, or that panel getting replaced and repaired. And, we dealt with Samsung. We're not direct, full disclosure, we're not direct with Samsung. We buy through distribution, as a lot of integrators do. And that process is convoluted as well. But once we got to the point of getting the service tech scheduled, yada, 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 we have to send people out to take the TV off the wall, to babysit the repair tech. That becomes part of our warranty that we have to cover. Even though we did nothing wrong, this was 100% a panel issue. It's not like that manufacturer covers our time. We have to cover our time, right? And it's one of those things where the client looks at that, even though we kind of have stolen something out of your recommendation there over the years. We provide warranty information for the end user. They don't care that it's Samsung who's covering that warranty. They still want Omega people there on site to deal with it. And that's one of those things that either you make that statement and you say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Client, you are on your own. Call Samsung Direct. They will happily take care of this for you. Or you do some good business, in my opinion, and you get out there and you say, hey, we'll help you through this process to whatever level you want us to, and we'll take care of it. On the flip side, we have another client who had a large Sony TV that was having some OS issues, and they wanted to deal with Sony directly on it. And they would come back to us and ask us some questions as we were working through it and going through that process. We ended up helping a lot, but they wanted to hear it directly from Sony, why this was happening. And they wanted Sony to explain to them. So we stepped in as needed. And I think a lot of times it's just good business, right? Maybe you can elaborate on this, but I don't think that there's a lot of cases where integrators have warranty related work that isn't coming from bad product.
You are right, and again, we've had this discussion. When you go into a job, you have to price it accordingly with some profitability, obviously. And there are far too many people out there that are trying to get jobs that price these jobs, frankly, below, that don't include the proper profitability, because these things are going to happen. And they're not going to happen every job, but there are some consumers that accept, and they'll say to you, I understand it's the product, but that doesn't lower your expectations of what needs to be done. But there are some people who everything is your fault, no matter the TV goes out. That was Omega's problem. They installed it, and you got to babysit it. And again, I'm all about taking care of the customer. And I think a job that is installed correctly and the profit is correct, and I sometimes that's a swear word, but the profit is correct, that allows you, and hopefully you're going to win on a lot more than you're going to lose, but product is going to break down. And it's a necessary evil, and consumers need to understand it, but it doesn't lower the expectations of the installer.
No, not at all. The last thing I'll say on this before we move on is you also have to be aware of who you're getting service from. And this is something that I learned years ago, and we have a local service center that whenever possible, they're who we respectfully demand does any repairs for any of the manufacturers. Because we have a good working relationship with them, they're not going to ring us around and have us sitting on a job site for a day to get something solved. And I'll use an example that isn't directly from this. Our company is real heavy into Milwaukee tools. They had a local service center that was a nightmare to deal with. We would send drills off to get repaired, and it would be 3-4 months to get them back. And this is pre-COVID, right? And we're not talking a $20 drill. We're talking $400-$500 drills. They subsequently pulled their service back to a factory service location. And now when we show up with something, and we don't have a lot of issues with Milwaukee, don't take that the wrong way. But when we do have a problem with something, we literally drop it off at the service center, and half the time they just give us a new one and just say, here you go. And it has taken, as someone who would berate my Milwaukee reps all the time over, I'd rather buy a new tool than try and get it serviced because it takes so stinking long. Now I have no concerns. If we have an issue, no problem. We'll take it in. They'll either fix it real quick, or they'll just replace it, which is what I expect.
So, Matt, that's the bias in me coming out. I can't let you end the conversation there. That's the bias in me coming out. That when we have dealers of loyalty, and they are good dealers of ours, it is incumbent upon us to maybe in some of those situations every situation unfortunately is different, but maybe we have the ability to call Samsung and say, hey, this TV XYZ was hardly used, and these are the issues. This is when stuff gets serviced, sometimes there's long-term issues. Let us replace that TV with a brand new TV, and we take that TV back. You have a happy consumer, you have a happy integrator, and frankly, we're grateful for your loyalty to us. So
yeah, and again, I think dealers should take that same approach to a lot of their customers too. There's a lot of times where, and maybe don't run out there and just offer to give a client a brand new $7,000 TV, but if there's a minor little thing, just fix it. Just fix it. Be happy. Walk out the door. You don't have to make a big deal about it. Don't, sometimes it's a lot easier just to get it done. All right, let's see. I told you were going to get rants today. All right, let's change topics for a second. This comes to us from CE Pro. Savant previews their Cync smart low profile downlights with full color at IBS last month. If you look at this and you recognize Cync, it's because this is what was the C by GE line that they kind of loosely launched last year, but they've fully rebranded the entire thing as Cync. And it is as I said, it's a line of wafer thin fixtures, in ceiling fixtures, just like what you're going to see at the big box store, except they've got full color and work within that Cync platform. And lucky for us, Dennis and his team there, they actually work with this product, so he's a good guy to have on. Dennis, this is a fixture line that when it was initially launched, I was on the fence about. And if you go back and listen to those episodes, you'll hear how on the fence I was. But it is a collaboration with USAI, who I really like. They're a great lighting company for the implementation of their daylight mode. They've got a lot of new features in this. And again, it all works within the app, etc. But this is described as an entry-level solution for the building community, with a line of switches and some other things, but it's something to get you in the door to not only, to use the term kind of loosely, automated lighting, but controlled lighting, and to something that has, again, some full color options within that fixture, which we haven't really seen from anyone in an affordable price point. What does it mean, and what does it do to the market for Savant to be pushing this this new product line, again, knowing that it's priced competitively for that building, super luxe, high end market share?
So Matt, I think it's a great move on Savant's part. I think it now says Savant understands that not every consumer wants a full-blown lighting system or a full-blown control system or a full-blown any type integration system in their home. There are people who just want bits and pieces to solve what they're looking to solve. And I can tell you that the line, it's a great line. It's backed by Savant, even though it's GE product, it's backed by Savant. So that's a great thing. But it also, and I hesitate to bring up the word Ring. I can tell you a lot of our integrators, when Ring came out and Nest, this is do-it-yourself product. And yet it is, but there's a large audience out there that's do it for me. And need I say, here we're several years later, and I think Nest has done pretty well with a lot of integrators, even though it continues to do well with Lowe's and Home Depot. Ring, the same thing. And I think Cync is another example of that, although more intensive, but everybody has lighting in their house. And some people don't care about, again, the whole house. They want to just be able, you mentioned before, you go to bed and you want to say, did I turn off that light downstairs in my family room? Bing, it's done. It doesn't need to be where you pick up a tablet and you go through 87 steps to get to that last light. And the colors, it's cool. So I think Savant has done a great thing to show that, again, they understand the business. Not everybody wants everything full blown. They just want bits and pieces. This stuff works, which is really a great thing in our industry when the stuff works and it does what it's supposed to do as advertised.
What I like about this is the fact that the price point's coming in at $60 MSRP US, which is really competitive with what you're going to see if you walk into a big box store and look for an LED that is either selectable color temperature or dim to warm, right? There's not a lot of options out there that are anywhere near this price point. And I mean anywhere near this price point that have color options. Now, I'll preface that with, personally, I hate color options. I think they're terrible, and I don't know why anyone would ever use them. But feel free to send me hate mail on that if you're in that world. But I love the fact that you're going to have a color option, but more importantly, you're going to be able to achieve dim to warm and all of those things that the general consumer's looking for. Are we to a point where this is positioned properly to take smart lighting and make it actually something that becomes commonplace in the average North American household?
First of all, the color part of it. I mean, the minute a person puts that in there, they're going to turn their room red, green, and yellow, and that's going to be cool for the first couple hours, and then they're never going to do it again. But nonetheless,
I really hope so.
No, because there are people, St. Patrick's Day, they're going to turn their lights green. They're going to do these different things. So
I won't talk about it.
But the cool thing here is that when we release products, we always release the max. And I think there's a whole bunch of houses out there, as we just said on the last, not everybody wants a full-blown anything. There are people just want aspects of certain things, and getting this information out, backed by a name you've heard. I mean, the GE obviously comes up in the conversation because we know where it came from. It gives the consumer who doesn't want all this and that and more an option, a comfortable option at a great price. And I agree with you that there's not a low, medium, high price here. This is low, and then you skip the medium category, so to speak, and then you go to full-blown lighting. And I'm all for giving the consumer what they want, not what we as integrators believe they should have.
That's a really good point. Let's leave it there. Thank you, Dennis. If people want to connect with you, learn more about Powerhouse Alliance in all of your locations, how can they do that?
They can do it one of two ways. If they want to hear about Powerhouse and its locations around the country, www.powerhousealliance.com. Visit our new website. New map now shows all the locations, not only the members, but all of their locations. We're at 60 plus. And if they want to talk to me and hear my bad attitude, then Dennis Holzer at powerhousealliance.com, and I'm happy to talk to anybody who calls me.
Hey, just before I let you go, you guys also now have a certified trainer at every location, correct?
Every location.
That is fantastic. So if you're looking for localized training, go talk to Dennis's people. He's got that on lock. All right. Thank you all for joining us and putting up with my ranting. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter at Matt D. Scott and most other social platforms. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.